itself started in July 1965. I was born in West Ham. Got any West Ham boys here tonight? Alright, yeah, okay, yeah. So, I was born into a mad West Ham family, and I was actually told to support West Ham. It wasn't an option. I was told you will support West Ham. Guys, do me a favour, if no recording, take photos, it's fine, but I will get sacked from Sky Sports if you film me. So the guy at the back there, I can see him film me, put your phone down please, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm born into the West Ham family, and in 1975 West Ham beat Fulham 2-0 in the FA Cup final. Did anyone go to that game? No. Yeah, gentleman there, on my left, which is great. 5 years later, West Ham beat Arsenal in the 1980 FA Cup final. Anyone go to that one? Yeah, no. Which is all of which is brilliant, but as I stand here tonight, 38 years later, we've won fuck all ever since. And I'm partly to blame for that. So, as a footballer myself, I grew up in the lovely Essex town of Romford, and probably did what all you guys did. Played from the age of 7, played all through the schoolboy levels. I first got spotted by West Ham at the age of 12. It's a little bit different nowadays. Any of you guys that have got young kids, you know, when they're 6 or 7, if they're any good, the boys, the big top boys, will be watching them. When in my day, I was 12 years of age, and I got spotted by West Ham, and they always used to say, well, he's a good player, he's a good finisher, but he's too small, he'll never make it. And as I stand here tonight, I probably am still too small, and I go along with that. I actually left school at the age of 15. You could do it in those days. And two things were pretty obvious to me. The first was I had no qualifications whatsoever, and the second thing was I weren't going to be a basketball player. So I signed for West Ham at the age of 15, and immediately I get in the youth team and start banging the goals in. And then at the age of 16, I get in the reserves, and I start banging the goals in for the reserves. And then finally, at the age of 17, the big moment arrives. So before I go any further, I've just got a simple question tonight. Have you got any Spurs fans here? Yeah. Fantastic. Let me tell you about my debut. 1st of January 1983, West Ham v Spurs. I'm 17 years of age, making my debut for my team. And after 25 minutes, I get fouled on the right-hand side. Free kick to West Ham. You won't know a lot of these names, all you youngsters, as I go along my story. But Jeff Pike takes the free kick for West Ham, and he curls it into the box. And we had a guy called Joe Gallagher on loan at the time who heads the ball towards the top of the goal. In goal was Spurs, England goalkeeper Ray Clements. And Ray Clements gets his fingertips to the ball, and it hits the underside of the bar and bounces down. Now, for most normal players, it was a simple volley, but for me, it was a towering header. Into the back of the net. West Ham 1, Spurs 0. We went on to beat Spurs 3-0. And let me tell you, as a West Ham fan, it really doesn't get much better than that. A great start to my career as a professional. But I think what you very quickly realise in football, and again this will apply to your level as well, guys, is that you get lots of ups, you get lots of downs, and you need a good team spirit. They're the three things that probably run through all sorts of football. So I've had the up, I've made my debut for the Hammers. The following season, I'm now 18 years of age, and I established myself in the West Ham first team. And at the start of that particular season, the fixtures come out. We all do it now, whatever team you support. You get the fixtures, and you have one game that you're looking forward to either watching, or as was now my case, playing. So the one game I want to play, believe it or not, was Liverpool away. And the reason for that is that Liverpool were the reigning European champions. They might well be the reigning European champions tomorrow night as well, unfortunately. I'll have to watch that game. But I do wish them all the best. They're an English team. Good luck to Liverpool tomorrow. But at the time, back in the 83-84 season, Liverpool is the one game I want to play. So, the fixtures, I've got to wait till March of the following sort of year, 83-84 season. Wait till March for the fixtures to come out, and I'll go and play at Anfield. So on the Friday morning, when we report for training, the great John Lyle has been taken ill, our manager. So he can't make the trip to Liverpool. So we get the bus up to Liverpool, no private jets and all that stuff in those days. Coach up to Liverpool, stay overnight in a hotel, have something to eat, we get up in the morning, have a little walk around Liverpool, we then get on the bus, go to Anfield, sit down in the dressing room at 1:45, one problem, we don't have a manager. So, the coach, a guy called Mick McGibbon, stands up and he does his speech. And he went, lads, he said, at West Ham, he said, we always play a 4-4-2. He said, but today, we're going to play a 4-5-1. And he looks at me down front and goes, Tony, you are the one. Right, now I'm not being funny, I'm 18 years of age and I'm playing against Hansen and Lawrence, two of the best centre-halves in Europe. So as you can imagine, I'm getting a little bit nervous about the game. It's now 10 minutes before kick-off and we're queuing to get out of the dressing room. In front of me is Paul Allen, good player for West Ham and Spurs, and Trevor Brooking, or Sir Trevor Brooking as he is now. And Paul Allen turned around to Trevor Brooking and he went, Trev, he said, a little bit worried today. He said, I'm taking the corners. He said, Trevor, what do you want me to do with the corners? So I put it to the near post, put it to the far post, pinging one to the edge of the box. Trevor, what do you want me to do with the corners? And Trevor Brooking's a little bit posh, and his answer was, he went, ha ha! He said, we'll worry about that if we get one. So not surprisingly, we was 4-0 down after 20 minutes. We lost 6-0, was lucky to get nil. And at the end of the game, my captain, the great Billy Bonds, come up to me and said, hello, Tom, my name's Bill. Now, to say I was a bit isolated up front is a bit of an understatement, but it was a great lesson. As I say, the ups and downs of football. The following season, there was a very famous game for West Ham. We played Bury in the League Cup, and we beat Bury 10-0, and I scored 4 goals that night. And after the game, we showed what a forward-thinking club we were, because we went out and bought their centre-half. Ain't funny, it's true. So, anyway, things aren't quite what they should be at the club. We're flirting with relegation, had a couple of seasons of that. And, you know, as I said, I'm established in the team. And we get to the summer of 1985, and I did what all footballers did back in the summer of 85. I went on holiday to Magaluf, or Shagaluf apparently as it's called nowadays, but it's what my boys tell me. So I'm laying out in Magaluf, and in those days, you're lucky, you guys, in this generation, you've got your mobiles and all that sort of stuff. We didn't have mobiles. If you want to know what's going on in the football world, you get off your arse, you go and buy a newspaper. So I go and buy the old Current Bun, sit down on my bed, I'm thinking West Ham need a couple of good players. So I opened the paper up, it said West Ham signed 2 new players. Fantastic. So I looked at the first one. It was a guy called Mark Ward. I don't know whether some of the old ones remember him. Good player for West Ham and Everton. And the headline that went with it said that he was a Class A midfielder with lots of speed. Think about it. He's just done 8 years in Her Majesty's Prison, Rochdale, so it probably was a good headline to put with Mark Ward. The other guy was someone called Frank someone, and I couldn't pronounce his surname. It was McKeveny or Machiavelli or something. I'd never heard of the guy. It went on to be the one and only Mr. Frank McAvenny, who we both had a fantastic partnership together. Frank took a little while to settle in at the club, because I think he only shagged 4 birds in the first week. He was a bit of a playboy for all you youngsters who don't know how he was. And just to make him feel at home, our manager, as I said, the great John Noble, he organised our one and only pre-season trip that particular season to Amsterdam. So, off we go to Amsterdam. This is the example of the team spirit. We go to Amsterdam and we played against this 3rd Division Dutch team. Usual pre-season game. You've all played and seen pre-season game. They're shit games, you're trying to get fit, they're really good. We draw 0-0, we're coming after the game. There's a 3 o'clock kick-off on a Saturday. We sit down after the game and John Noble comes and goes, brilliant lads, well done, great attitude, you know, didn't quite play that well, but we're trying to get fit for the start of the season. He said, in fact, I'm so pleased with the attitude, he said, I'm going to allow you to go out for a few drinks. At which point, Frank McAvenny sitting next to me, and he's nudging me, thinking, happy days, like we're going to have a few drinks. He said, there's a but. He said, you have to be back in your hotel by 11 o'clock Saturday night. And I'll be sitting in reception with Mick McGivern and Ronnie Boyce, the 2 coaches. So, we go out, the whole squad, we had a great time, 3 or 4 beers, nothing silly. Get in the taxis, all about to make our own way back, and I was with Mark Ward and Frank McAvenny. We walked in at 11:15, and as we walk in reception, there he is, true to his word, John Noble and the 2 coaches. Brilliant lads, absolutely fantastic attitude, 11:15, you know, go up, have a good night's sleep, and not breakfast, 9 o'clock in the morning, we'll see you in the morning. So we get in the lift, start going up the lift. Frank looks at me and goes, Tom, he says, I go out at 11 o'clock, I don't go to bed at 11 o'clock. I went, look, Frank, I've had a few by now. I said, I want to go out as well. I said, well, mate, we've got a problem. We've got the manager sitting in reception. He went, don't worry about that. Let's go down the fire exit. I'm thinking, oh, here we go, trouble's coming. So anyway, we're creeping down the fire exit. True story. Creeping down the fire exit. We hear giggling above us. And as I looked up, there's Alvin Martin, the club captain, Tony Gale, the vice captain, and Steve Walford with exactly the same idea as us. So we get to the bottom, out the fire exit, flag down a couple of taxis, back to the bar we've been drinking in the middle of Amsterdam. Around about half an hour later, the rest of the squad arrived. Good team spirit, as I said. So we had a great night. It was back in the 80s. We still do it nowadays. So we can imagine West Ham pre-season talk. Oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. And you wonder why we didn't win anything for about 20 years. So anyway, great time. And we rolled in about 4 o'clock in the morning, at which point, obviously, the manager's in bed. So we go to sleep. We come down for breakfast, 9 o'clock, as planned. And we're sitting around our nice round tables like we got tonight. And in comes John Lyle. He goes, right, you lot. He said, I'm not happy. I know that some of you were out last night. And he's only looking at 3 people, me, Mark Ward and Frank McAveen. I know that some of you were out last night. That's all he says. He said, but we are a team. We are a squad. He said, if you was out last night, you are fined 50 quid. Right? 50 quid is still a lot of money. £50 in the 80s, trust me, was a lot of money. He said, I'm going to go out of this room. When I come back in, if you was out last night, you put a £50 fine in the middle of the table. So John Lyle goes out of the room, come back in expecting 150 quid. There was £1,200 in the middle of the table. That's what you call a good team spirit. We actually finished 3rd that season. I'll say that again very slowly. West Ham finished 3rd, equivalent of the Premier League. The only time West Ham finished 3rd nowadays is obviously if they get relegated and get in the Championship. That's when they finish 3rd. Me and Frank, 54 goals between us, just 2 players, 54 goals. We had a fantastic season. I won the PFA Young Player of the Year. Thank you. Frank, as a reward, got in the Scotland squad and flew out to Mexico for the World Cup. Again, for you youngsters who can't remember the World Cup, it was the one where Maradona handled the ball when England got to the quarterfinals. And the following World Cup tournament, 4 years later, we got to the semi-final and we lost the penalties, as always, to the Germans. But I got in the squad in 86 and I was in the squad up until 89. And my manager, and I hope you give him a round of applause, was Sir Bobby Robson. So Bobby, above all else, was a fantastic person, a lovely, lovely man. I've already said World Cups, brilliant manager, excellent coach, good with the team spirit, absolutely brilliant, Sir Bobby was. He just had a little problem with names. So when we was in the England squad back in the day, you'll remember Clive Allen? Yeah, Bobby used to call him Les. Because his dad, Les, used to play for Spurs. We also had a guy called Mark Hateley. Remember Mark Hateley? Bobby used to call him Tony, because his dad, Tony, played for Spurs. As you can imagine, we had a bit of fun at the manager's expense, but all good-natured fun. And it was a great time for me to be in the England squad. I only got 7 caps, and the reason for that was there was 2 shit players in front of me called Gary Lineker and Peter Beardsley. It was a lot harder to get a cap back in those days. I think nowadays, if you're English, you can get 50 caps without doing anything. You just got to be English. So it's a well. Listen, I'm only stating the facts. So I had 2 more seasons at West Ham, and in the summer of 1988, I made a very difficult decision because I've already said I'm a West Ham boy, West Ham fan, still unfortunately a West Ham fan. But I decided to leave the club, and I went and saw the manager, John Lyle, and he said, look, he said, we don't want you to leave. He said, but if you do leave, he said, we want more money than what Gazza's just left Newcastle to go to Spurs for. Now, the amount that he went for back in the summer of 1988, 30 years ago, I can't believe it, was £2 million. All you youngsters go, 2 million? Is that all Gazza was worth? 2 million? Trust me, it was a record transfer. It was a lot of money. And West Ham agreed a fee with both Everton and Arsenal for £2,050,000 for me. And that meant that I was a better player than Gazza. At which point you can laugh, because that's not true. I wasn't a better player than Gazza. But I couldn't set the transfer fee. That was done by the other clubs and by West Ham, obviously. But I had a tough decision to make, and I didn't know whether to sign for Everton or for Arsenal. Everton had won the league the year before, had good players. Colin Harvey was the manager. I looked at Arsenal, hadn't particularly won anything, but they had all these kids like Merce and David Rocastle, Tony Adams, Nicky Thomas, all these great players coming through, and eventually it would go on and win lots of trophies. Their manager was George Graham. So it was a tough decision, but in the end, I felt that Everton actually wanted me more from a footballing point of view. George Graham said to me, he said, if you sign for Arsenal, he said, you can chase fullbacks. I'm thinking, I'm a centre forward, what the flipping hell do I want to chase fullbacks for? He said, you can wear the Arsenal blazer. I thought, what the fuck do I want to do that for? I'm a West Ham fan. So, a couple of the reasons why I didn't sign for Arsenal, and to be quite honest with you, the deal Everton put to me was financially was a much better offer. I put my hands up, 5-year contract, it was my biggest contract, my one and only big contract, so I signed for Everton for 5 years. I could never quite get my head around why George Graham didn't push the boat out a little bit more. But anyway, about 5 years later at the Bung inquiry, we found out George had been keeping it all for himself, so it made perfect sense. So I signed for Everton, and I made my debut on the 27th of August 1988. I scored after 34 seconds, I got a hat-trick, and we beat Newcastle 4-0. Now, can anyone answer this question? Where the hell do you go from now? Any answers? Down. It's correct, is the right answer. By God, did I go down at Everton. So, 2 years after on the British record transfer, I get, my manager, Colin Harvey, gets sacked. And he's replaced by a really good manager, Howard Kendall. Remember Howard Kendall? Good footballing manager for Everton. So, the problem was, I fell out with Howard pretty quickly. I was a younger player, he wanted all the older players in. So when you fall out with your manager, boom, straight in the reserves. So he puts me in the reserves. We go and play at Man City, the old Main Road ground, on a Thursday night. It's pissing down the rain, and we lost 4-0. And it was a bit like the game I spoke about earlier. It could have been 10-0. It was one of those games. We was dreadful. We're coming after the match, sitting in the corner, feeling sorry for myself, soaking wet. I thought, where does your career go from here? I thought, well, be professional. I said, go home, have a good night's sleep, get up in the morning, go to training on a Friday morning, hopefully be in the first team squad on the Saturday. So I'll go home, have a good night's sleep, turn up to the training ground on a Friday morning. Before I can even take my jumper off, there was a rumour about an A-team game at Morecambe on the Friday night. Now, for those of you who don't know, the A-team is Everton's equivalent of the third team, and Morecambe was somewhere I didn't particularly want to be on a Friday night, I promise you. So anyway, up he goes, team sheet, number 9, T. Cotty. I think, oh, now I've got to play in the third team, Everton's third team. I could sign him in the third team. Can't do anything about it, getting paid good money, as I said, got to go and play the game. So I'll go out, up to Morecambe, get on the bus, go to Morecambe, and I thought, right, what do you do now? Right, go and do your stretches. So, you know how it goes, boys, do your stretches. So I do my stretches, and the Morecambe team comes running out. And I looked at the Morecambe team, and I thought, God, he looks familiar. You know, when you look at the opposition, you think, oh, I think I know who that is. I looked again just to be sure. I thought, yeah, I know who that is. It was my window cleaner. I'd gone from record transfer to record tosser in the space of 2 years. So anyway, I win over Howard Kendall. I sign a new 3-year contract, and 2 weeks later, he resigns. And he's replaced by the legendary Mike Walker. I say legendary because he wasn't legendary at Everton. He was legendary at Norwich, where he'd done a really good job. Norwich fan now. And they beat Bayern Munich. They got to the UEFA Cup, or the Europa League as you now know it. They finished 3rd in the Premier League. He'd done a really good job. He went to Everton, and he was crap. So, the scenario is, okay, last game of the 1993-94 season. It's a very, very famous game. Everton at home to Wimbledon. Okay? And the scenario is Everton are bottom and they have to win their game against Wimbledon, and they're reliant on 5 other results. That was how bad it was, and that was how good Mike Walker was as a manager. We were having a really bad time. So anyway, just to make matters worse, Everton knocked the stand down behind one of the goals. Right? So what that meant, it meant a couple of things. It meant, firstly, the atmosphere wasn't going to be as good as it would be. Any of you who've been to Goodison, it's a great atmosphere, but if you've got one stand missing, it doesn't help. And also, if you want to get a ticket, it makes it harder to get a ticket. But you know what the Scousers are like? Any Scousers in the room? Yeah, good. Well, listen, Scousers are like the Cockneys. If you want to get a ticket, you'll get a ticket. So just bear that in mind as I go with this story. So, the big game arrives, and I thought, I'll go out and do a warm-up. So I'll go out and do a warm-up. The first one back in the dressing room, sit down, do my boots and socks and what you do. Next player in, Ian Snoddy, right back at Everton, good player. Sits next to me, looks at me, he goes, Tony, he said, you won't believe this. He said, I've just seen my mate. He said, he's in a wheelchair in the disabled section, but there's nothing wrong with him. Right now, the one thing I couldn't do is what you've just done, is laugh, because the manager's looking at us, so I just sort of smirked. I thought, forget about it, just get on with it. So anyway, the game kicks off, massive, massive game. If Everton get relegated, it's the first time in 40 years that they would have got relegated, okay? So we've got to win the game, relying on the other side. 5 minutes into the game, Anders Limpar handles the ball, penalty at Wimbledon. Up steps, Dean Knowlesworth, bang, 1-0 Wimbledon. 20 minutes later, own goal from Gary Ablett, God rest his soul. 2-0 down. We've got to win. We're 2-0 down after 25 minutes. Just before half-time, Graham Stewart scores a penalty, and And just after half-time, Barry Horns put a fantastic goal in the top corner. 2-2, still not enough, Everton are going down, we've got to win. There's 8 minutes left, and the ball is played into me by Graham Stewart. I'm on the edge of the box, I've got my back to the goal, and I've done a perfect layoff off my knee. If you watch the video, it's off my knee, and it goes to Graham Stewart, and he strides onto it, and as it trickled past me, I thought, well, that ain't going to beat anyone. But luckily for us, in goal for Wimbledon was Hans Sagers. You older ones know where I'm going with this. So anyway, the ball's gone in the back of the net, and as you can imagine, all hell's broke loose at Goodison. The fans have come running onto the pitch, and the Scouser, who was in the wheelchair, jumps out of the wheelchair, sprints onto the pitch and goes up to Stods and goes, "Stods, it's a miracle!" Everton did stay up, and I did see Hans Sagers the other day. He was in Toys R Us giving games away. So I had, moving swiftly on. I had 6 years, that's what I said, don't film me. I had 6 years at Everton, 6 great years, it's a fantastic club, but I wouldn't say I was homesick, but it was time to come back to London, being a London boy, and I was lucky at the time. West Ham needed a striker, I needed to come back to London, so I re-signed for my team, West Ham. So I joined the club, and they said we're going to give you a boot boy, or an apprentice as we called them. And anyway, this apprentice was fantastic. He used to put me kit out in the morning, and for 2-3 weeks, absolutely no problems whatsoever. And then one morning he forgot me boots, and then he forget me shorts, and then he forget me top. Couldn't quite work it out, but anyway, 12 years ago, when Rio Ferdinand forgot his drugs test, all made sense to me. Rio was my boot boy. What a player he turned into when he was a player. So I had a great time. I went back to West Ham. I was top scorer for the first two full seasons. I played alongside some legendary names, Marco Boogers. Exactly. Ian Dowie was another one. Ian Dowie was top scorer. Like I say, top scorer for 2 seasons. Start the 3rd season, I get injured. Happens to all players. Get injured, pull my calf muscle. By the time I got back to full fitness, dear old Harry Redknapp, I've got to mention my manager. Harry Redknapp was my manager. Great manager, Harry, yeah? Would you buy a second-hand car off Harry Redknapp? Probably not. So, anyway, while I'm injured, Harry decides to sign a lot of foreign players. He's got loads of them in the game now, but it was all experimental back in the mid-90s, and I think he'd signed about 5 foreign players, and Ian Dowie was fit as well, so I had 6 players in front of me. So I'm 7th choice striker by the time I get back to fitness. And I've done my first training session, and as I'm walking off the training pitch, Harry comes alongside me, and he goes, "Tom, can I have a word, please, in the office?" And I said, "All right, Harry, no problem." So I sit down with Harry Redknapp, look at him, and he goes, "Tom," he said, "you won't believe this." He said, "I've had an agent on the phone. He wants you to go and play in Malaysia." So I went, "Yeah, all right, Harry, good one." You know, what is it, April Fool's Day? He went, No, he said, "I'm serious." So I'm thinking, West Ham need money. I want to play football. I'm 31 years of age. And I'm thinking, I'm 7th choice striker. I need to speak to these guys. So I spoke to this agent, went up 2 weeks. It was a complete load of rubbish. Put the phone down, told Harry I'm staying. At which point Harry went, "Yeah, tribute. Well done, Tony." That wasn't very good, I know it wasn't. But you know what I mean. So anyway, 2 weeks later, walking off the training field, alongside Harry comes me, Harry Redknapp. Can I have another word in the office? Oh, here we go, another team's coming through. So he sits me down, he said, "Tom," he said, there's another agent been on the phone for you to go and play in Malaysia." I went, "Harry, look, I had all this 2 weeks ago. It's a load of crap." He said, "Look, just speak to this agent. It's a different agent. Speak to him, see what happens." So I fly into Malaysia, I come back, I've got to make a decision. 31 years of age, West Ham need money, 7th choice striker, what do you do? No other team come in for me. I thought, sod it, I'm going to go to Malaysia. So I said to Harry, "Right, I'm going to sign for this team." And the team was called Selangor. And they played in Malaysia, as I say. And the most they'd ever paid for any player was £750,000. That was for me. The most before that was 100,000. Okay, so record fee 100, they pay 750 for me. But do you know the best thing about my time in Malaysia? For the first time in my career, I was a target man. I was the tallest player in the team. It was the only club with a tracksuit fitting me. They said to me and my wife, they said, "Look, come over to Malaysia, we will treat you like royalty." And of course, we all know the modern day equivalent of royalty. We saw them at the Royal Wedding, David and Victoria, or Posh and Bex. But fortunately for us, we didn't follow their lead, because if we had done, my twin boys would now be called Kuala Lumpur. I had a great rapport with the fans as well. The fans were brilliant with me. They started singing Cottee, Cottee, Cottee. I think it's brilliant singing the name of the thing. This went on for about 3 or 4 weeks. And anyway, most of the people out in Malaysia, the management staff, none of them really could speak English. The only one who could speak broken English was the physio. The rest of it was through a translator. So anyway, I went up to the physio after one of these games where they'd been giving it the Cottee and all that. I went, physio. I said, isn't it good? I said, they're singing my name. Cottee, Cottee. And he went, no. In Malaysian, Cottee means little prick. That's true. Right. So anyway, I knew it was time to leave Malaysia because basically I got fed up with knowing the score before we kicked off. So it was time to come back up. How are we going, Cash? We've got time for a few more stories a week. About another 5 minutes, all right? Am I boring you? I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So anyway, listen, I'd come back from Malaysia. My wife was pregnant with twins, and as I said, no one wanted me when I left. And I thought, well, I'll come back and I'll play one of my local teams, which was in Orient, Dagenham, Colchester, Southend, whatever. I just wanted to play football. I'm 32 years of age. I get a phone call from Leicester to go and play in the Premier League under Martin O'Neill. And the reason for that was the coach was Steve Walford. And he was one of the ones going down the fire exit if he was listening to the story. So we still had a little bit of a friendship going on. So anyway, I signed for Leicester. I had 3 fantastic years at Leicester, playing in the Premier League, 3 years alongside Emile Heskey. Let me tell you, from a team point of view, he's one of the best players I've ever played alongside. Fantastic player. And 3 years alongside him. Great players in the squad. Muzzy Izzet, Neil Lennon. Well, I'd like to say Robbie Savage, but I probably can't say it about great players. And we also had this guy as well who basically used to roar into the car park every morning and basically stay in the car park. I mean, Stan Collymore would have been a great player for us. We couldn't get, he was flashing his headlights, all you youngsters obviously know what I'm talking about. Couldn't get him out of the car park. I am joking, you know I'm joking, right? So anyway, I played 2 games for Leicester. I'll keep it, I know we're all hungry. 2 games for Leicester at the start of the 2000-2001 season. I then got transferred to Norwich. And mate, Norwich fan over there. Yeah, I enjoyed it so much at Norwich. I was there for 7 weeks. And the reason I was only there for 7 weeks is I had the offer to become the player manager at Barnet. So I travelled down the motorway to meet the chairman, who is still the chairman, Tony Cleanthos, the chairman, and the director of football, John Steele, who I understand has gone back to become the manager. So anyway, I sit down with these two to have a chat, and I kept it simple. I said, look, Mr. Chairman, what do you want from me? He said, Tony, I'll tell you exactly what we want from you. We want you to get us out of this division. So I did. I took her from the 3rd division to the conference. It was, they did actually go down at the end of that season. It was the days before the transfer window. So I had the opportunity, I left Barnet, they got relegated, and I signed my last club, believe it or not, West Ham boys, signed for Millwall. What am I thinking? Seriously. But the reason I signed for Millwall is A, they paid me the most money, and B, by playing for Millwall, it meant I played for 4 different clubs in 4 different divisions in 1 season. I'll say it again slowly, 4 different clubs, 4 different divisions in 1 season. That'd be like Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2 in the 1 season. And people to this day still come up to me and say, what a great achievement that was. For fuck's sake, I started in the Premier League and ended up in Millwall. Listen, I've run out of time and I've got to do an auction. Just one very quick story. You know I've been on Sky Sport for 17 years now. Everyone's seen Soccer Saturday. It's a fantastic show. I haven't got time really Soccer Saturday stories, but I spoke about ups and downs and team spirit, and I think one other thing which is always great, and if you're doing well in either football world, TV world, or whatever business you work in, it's always nice for someone to very politely put you down. So 2 years ago, again, true story to finish, I'm at this big dinner in central London, and I'm in the VIP section, and quite a few footballers and people there, and all of a sudden this lovely old lady walked in. She must have been about 85 years of age. No idea who she was, but she started walking around and saying hello to everyone. So I thought, well, eventually she's going to come to me. So when she gets to me, she goes, oh, hello. She said, what's your name? I said, hello, nice to meet you. I said, my name's Tony. She said, what do you do? I said, well, I work for Sky. She went, oh, you must be one of those lovely chaps who climbs up the ladder and puts the satellite dish up. That's the way to knock you down. Listen, I'm going to do 2 auction bits. Please stay with me. But that's the end of my speeches. Thanks for listening. interested or don't give a fuck about the auction, go to the toilet. As we can see, they're all fucking off. I ain't paying money tonight. Right, so very simple. Very simple. You know how an auction works. If you stick your hand up, you're going to be bidding for it. Even if you're scratching your head, you will be bidding for it. So, we've got two items to raise funds for the AFA. Okay, the first one is a boot, right? I'd love to say this is the boot he scored the winning goal in the FA Cup final for last weekend. I will say that, it's not true, but this is signed by Eden Hazard. Have we got any Chelsea fans in? Yeah! Okay, so this boot is signed by Eden Hazard. He didn't score the goal in it, don't believe me when I say that. I want to try and get through it as quickly as possible. I want to raise money, so have I got 50 quid? Put your hand